21 years ago in 2005, a fresh-faced 17-year-old me with much more hair walked into Games Workshop Dublin and purchased one of the best sculpted Space Marines that there has ever been. I opened it there and then, cracked that blister pack, cleaned off the flash, kind of, assembled it and sprayed it black and played it in a couple of games from then on, and never, and I mean never, had the courage to start painting it. Until today, it is time for this beautiful metal Terminator Chaplain to get the glow up that it deserves and to be placed for all time in my Imperial Fist army. I am so excited to bring this model to you finally. And why am I choosing to do this to you now? Well, obviously I think it's one of the best sculpts ever. And funnily enough, today, Games Workshop is doing a made to order for this model. This model hasn't been sold in well over a decade and they're finally bringing it back. So if you really like what you see here today, you can jump over to the Games Workshop website, place an order for it and add it to your collection. Now, before I get into the video, as usual, I just want to say a huge thank you to all the people out there that support the channel in all the myriad of ways it is possible to do so, whether it's by simply watching the videos, making sure you give those videos likes, dropping comments, or making sure you're subscribed. Those things cost you nothing except a little bit of your time, but they make a huge difference as to how many people see these videos and how quickly the channel grows. To everyone out there who takes that extra step and is signed up to the Patreon, thank you so much for helping keep the lights on and the cameras rolling. As you guys know, there's a whole host of different reasons to be involved in that Patreon, i.e. extra videos every single week, access to podcasts, a huge awesome community over on Discord, monthly giveaways, and a whole host of awesome other reasons. So make sure you do check that out, all linked below. Without further ado, let's dive in and get this awesome model painted up. And this is the sorry state of that particular Terminator Chaplain now. As you can see, it's awful. I even gave it a bad coat of spray. For a long time, I actually didn't know where his arms were. They were in a separate location for some strange reason. But I did find them in some local kind of clearing and organizing of my Space Marine parts, which made me very, very happy. I can't remember why one of them isn't sprayed. Obviously, I must have stuck a different arm on him at some stage. But I have absolutely no memory or recollection of what that other arm was. I am using some Zabravska base toppers. I can never say their name or company. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape or form. I purchased these files from my mini factory. I use them for all my Imperial Fists, both 30k and 40k. People ask me in every single video where I show the models off where I got them from. So Zabravska workshop in my mini factory. They do some incredible stuff. You can go check them out for yourself. So I got the model then resprayed black with a dusting of grey cere and it suddenly just came to life, reminding me why I thought it was one of the most beautiful Space Marine miniatures that has ever existed. I mean, it's stunning. I think this is far superior to the current plastics. Obviously not in quality. Plastics are obviously always going to be sharper detail, easier to paint, easier to assemble, but just like the menace that I felt from seeing this model for the first time. You got to remember, back in the day when this came out, we didn't get a new character every 2 days from Games Workshop. And I'm not taking a shot at Games Workshop for that. I collect Space Marines immensely. I love them. I love getting all the new miniatures. I love collecting them all. I love building and painting them all. I don't want them to slow down or stop. But back then, it was, you might have gotten a new Space Marine character once or twice a year, maybe. And like compared to the basic infantry, the characters stood out immensely. So think about what other models were available in 2001, and then a model like this drops and it just changes the game. So I immediately wanted to get him on the tabletop and push him around with a squad of Terminators, remembering he gave kind of hatred to the squadron, which meant that Terminators with, you know, Thunderhammer and Storm Shield could reroll their hits. It was nasty back in the day, and it's still pretty nasty today, to be honest with you. But yeah, I had such fond memories of owning this miniature, and like I said, pushing him around with my old tin bits colored Space Marines, which are long dead. This guy will of course be joining my Imperial Fist army. He only recently just finished constructing that Crux Terminatus box set that recently came out, and I had stolen the Terminator Chaplain from that box set to do a Great Tide Studio conversion video, so I was actually missing one. So I built a captain and I built a banner bearer and I built the 15 Terminators in there, and I didn't have a chaplain. And then I remembered that this guy existed and was like, okay, well, that's the obvious choice. So I was super excited to have an actual reason to get him done. which obviously lined up beautifully with the made to order that Games Workshop is doing. So all the kind of stars aligned, which meant that I could dedicate kind of a day and a half's worth of time to getting this model back to a glory that it should have achieved over 2 decades ago and never did. So I was elated that I got to do this, and I'm very much enjoying the process. So as you can see, I am just throwing all the base coats in the world on at the moment, whether that be Black Templar for the armor, Skeleton Horde for all the scroll work, his chest eagle, and obviously his big skull helmet, Blood Angel's red contrast for the bolter, Lead Belcher for all of the rest of the bolter, Volupus pink for the handle of his gorgeous Crozius, and all the wax seals that went on around the miniature. I'm not going to be showing off the yellow shoulder pad. He's going to be joining my Imperial Fists. He won't be joining anyone else's Imperial Fists probably, so you'll paint him up as a Blood Angel, an Ultramarine shoulder pad, whatever you want to do that. And we'll just add a bunch of time onto this video that isn't needed. Retributor armor was then used for all of his awesome extra detail, banding on his leg, obviously the head of the Crozius, and any other bits and pieces around the model which show the kind of awesome details this model had for back in the time. Now obviously, like I said, plastic is a lot sharper. A lot of the details in this are kind of mashed together. You know, it's kind of a funny thing when you think of like a purity seal on the bolter and it's just melded into it. There's no real sharp line or distinction between where one kind of starts and one ends, which can be a problem. So you have to kind of create negative space when you're painting models like this, especially when you're getting to the highlight stage. Just leave shadows a little bit darker and just kind of paint in the detail as you will. Obviously, the model got a Nuln Oil shade all over it, which brought all those tones together and gave us a really nice base coat to start the layering process. I obviously did my base as well while that shade was drying. And now it's time to layer the model and try and make it look as nice as possible. Corvus Black was the first color used to layer up all of that armor. It is not jet black, it is not grey, it is somewhere in between, and it's something that I use often to highlight and layer up all of my kind of black power armor or black sections of models. As you can see, I'm going between the armor panels, making sure I get nice smooth coats, but then whenever you get to that soft seal section, so bits inside the inside of elbows or behind knees and stuff like that, I'm just leaving that the contrast in Nuln Oil. I'm not going to touch it. It looks good already, and with the Corvus Black you will distinguish those kind of soft seal plates from the heavy armored plates, and it will look really good. So this is the Corvus Black layered all over it. As you can see, it didn't really shift the tone of the model to grey, but it's nice and clean. We then moved to Eshin Grey and gave the model a very quick edge highlight across all those panels, just to add a little bit of extra distinction between them and make everything just look a little bit sharper. This is another thing where, with how kind of unsharp the model was, spending time doing a little bit of an edge highlight will actually make a huge difference in the final result of the model. Morghast Bone, Ushabti Bone, and Screaming Skull are the 3 colors that I will use to build up the rest of the tones on all of those kind of parchmenty parts, and of course the bone on his helmet and on the chest Aquila. Now in modern days painting, you wouldn't do these the same at all. They would, like, the bone armor on his helmet and chest piece would be very different to the parchment. But even if you look at the old picture they put up from the made to order, they're not. They're the same colors because they were painted back in the day when Games Workshop only had, 52 colors. So they didn't have as much kind of range of tones. So I decided to go with that. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to keep them all the same. I don't want to add all these extra tones in. I want it to feel a little bit more like a kind of 3rd and 4th edition miniature and have some fun with it. So I did it. I don't regret it. I think it looks ace. Obviously, I am a slightly better painter than I was back in the day, so I got to take a little bit of extra time and make the model look like what I always wanted it to look like in my head when I was, 17 and playing with my war dollies every single Thursday for late night games night in the Games Workshop Dublin store. And as you can see, with each layer we go up in the kind of bone spectrum. We are applying a kind of a lighter and a lighter coat. Less and less is applied, more to the edges and sharper points of the sections to give that really nice highlighted kind of feel to the piece. And then of course we're going in with Mephiston, Evil Sons of Wild Rider. I know 3 reds just to base coat a bolter casing may seem a little extreme, but it works. It looks really good, so it helps to make that kind of thing pop. Imperial Fists are renowned for having either black or red bolter casings. I always like the red bolter casing, and it obviously contrasts really well with the rest of the kind of the darkness on the model. The previous example had all the purity seals in red as well, but all my purity seals are more that kind of pink tone. So I did go with the pink tone for it, so it matches in with the rest of the force. If you would decided you wanted to do it the same pink, you would follow these steps for painting up all of those purity seals. And when you get to that edge highlight at the end, obviously it's just the sharpest parts. And then a little bit of a streaky highlight, or like a scratchy highlight across that curved section on the top of the boulder. Screamer pink will be used as the first highlight for obviously all of the wrappings on the Crozius. And like I said, all those purity seals. And this guy is festooned with purity seals. I think there's over 10 purity seals on him, I'm fairly sure, which is an insane amount for a single kind of 32mm miniature. But it doesn't look like too many. It kind of just works with the model like this, which is really cool. Pink color is the final highlight for those sections, adding a small line across the kind of sections of the Crozius, the different wrap layers or whatever, just to make it pop a little bit more. Some Liberator gold is used to highlight all of those gold sections. Nice quick highlight on those, really makes it pop. I love Liberator gold. I'm actually nearly out of Liberator gold. I keep needing to remind myself to order another pot. But knowing me, I will forget to do it until Liberator Gold is completely out, and then I'll be annoyed at myself that I didn't order it before now, but that's just how my silly brain works. Taking my time to highlight all of the gold because there is quite a lot of gold on this model. And then of course we have a bunch of gemstones and the eye lenses on this model which need to be done, and we're going to be doing those in red as well, following the same colors we used for the kind of bolter, except we're going to be adding a dot of white into the corners like we are now. And all you need to do is black out all the gemstones first. There's one on the Crozius, one on the kind of the bit above his head, like his belt buckle has one in it and stuff like that. So find all those different sections, do your normal painting when it comes to gemstones. A dot of white in the corner, add some art coats so they glow. And then you are left with this, which is a finished metal Terminator Chaplain that I bought over 2 decades ago and is finally finished, ready to be put on a tabletop, used in some modern games, and I'm just really excited to do that. I'm really pleased that this model is now finished. I had such a blast painting it up, and like I said, if you're managing to see this video when it comes out, remember that Games Workshop has it as a made to order right now, so if you're interested, you can own it if you so wish.